this video is gonna work out to some kind of explanation or reasoning or projection of the upcoming American riots, which I think there will be riots here. There will be some kind of assassination of Trump or other politicians, and then a segment of society that's more affluent, like the super rich or the rich, they'll feel very threatened that what they were doing and was working is now suddenly thrown aside, and they're back again on the score one with what was going on at the end of Obama's reign and all that. But this future prediction, it sits on top of a kind of philosophical reasoning that is kind of unfamiliar to most people, and that's that many people, majority of people, they don't like reality. They don't like the real world. It feels very unappealing to them, and it has to do with our genetic makeup or the way we were built, because the human species, we have a lot of brain matter, a lot of intelligence, but it's not really suitable or necessary for a lot of stuff that we need to do. I mean, to get a meal, I would have to whip out my debit card. It would be like $2-3 later, and I've had some nice tacos. So, but there is a lot of stuff that goes on in people's head that it just does not compute or does not agree with the reality as the reality is. But the thing about reality is that reality has its own intelligence, its own reasons for being and happening than what we think should be happening. For example, a lot of taking, for example, you want to date a chick, or a woman likes someone or a guy, and then there is a little interaction going on, because when a woman looks at the guy, she's evaluating him, see if he would be a good like a social friend, or if not, then if he would be good for bed, or if not, then could he be a potential lifelong mate. Okay, this is a lot of calculations that it goes on in the behind the scene, or one of the calculations that the women's head do is like social cost of being with someone. Social cost, which means like if she's confronted with a real black sheep like me, then I have to struggle a little bit more to remain anonymous, so we can carry on with the rest of this relationship or encounter, whatever it might be. To her, the social cost is a part of the calculation. Okay, but when people have a certain philosophy or a certain self-image that would say that Uh, okay, I got $1 zillion in my bank account, okay, and this chick that she's not really interested in me. She sees me as a dud, okay. But hey, I'll whip out my checkbook and I'll do a little this and that, or impress her, and then she probably forced to or obliged to cater to me. So what I did in this transaction is that I subverted, or I short-circuited a calculation that was going on naturally and was the right calculation, was what should have happened. I replaced it with the image, or with what I intended it to be. But the thing is, reality, that the real calculation that was happening in that interaction, it took into account a lot of things, a lot of the social standing between us, our sexual attraction, our likes and dislikes. Are we in the same age group? How we will resolve that? It's a real calculation. It has meaning because it's interacting with the universe, with all of the environment, and also the way she or I am in each state of time. I might be in my 50s, she might be in her 30s or 40s. So all these things, all these attractions and repulsions and considerations, they make the real calculation. They make right right connection. And a lot of times the calculations, they fail because she says, "Oh, he's like this. He's this black sheep. If I even talk to him, then the world is going to dump me too," which is often the case. So it doesn't work out, but then it brings on other calculations that I would, for example, become like a forbidden kind of love, or somebody that she crashes on and off, and then even though something failed, other things that are just as valuable and as real will replace that. What the way people are set up is they don't want that. They don't want to deal with all these externalities that relate to every transaction. This could be financial, this could be personal. Okay, so the way our society has been going at it is that we have financialized every transaction, every economic process. It's like becoming a hologram that exists in a server somewhere. Okay, then on top of all of this, we are also engaged in fraud and in manipulating this image according to our liking. Just like if I whipped out my checkbook and seduced her with the checkbook. Okay, so now our next worry is that this situation that we have created, this hologram of deceit and lies and financialization, is so unreal and so divorced from reality and actual economic processes that we know in the back of our mind, hey, this is a fraud. It's a gigantic fraud. But how come it doesn't fall apart? And it's because other humans, other people, they're also in love with these lies, in love with these companies that have shares, 3 million shares, but actually a million shares were published. Where is the other 2 million? But they are in love with it because somewhere there is this Wall Street company that is taking in and selling the shares, but they're not completing the transaction and going and actually buying the shares. Because if he or she did the complete transaction, or if she had to deal with all the externalities of a relationship or a financial transaction, then other parts will come in. For example, if the companies that had issued or sold 2 million shares more than a million shares that were actually exist, if they actually went and bought the shares, the actual price of those shares will shoot up like crazy. So what they actually do is, in their back office, they also make a mirror wall, which is they're holding the money in one or separate accounts, but this money is not shares. It just represents those shares, the 2 million shares that are supposedly belong to them or belong to the customer. So the thing is, dealing with reality and living reality, even though it is more painful and you make money much more slowly, okay, then, but you learn the real world, the way real things work, okay, and actually the future companies and the future talents and the future CEOs is going to be someone like you, because you actually know how this thing works. Well, I mean, how long this financial system that's so divorced from reality they can go on? I mean, I think that what's actually happening is many companies, they are borrowing money and enhancing these false mirage walls that's sitting in their office server or somebody else's server. Okay, so these ideas are a little bit now complicated, but then that has brought us to the worries for interest rate, because the companies, they know what they're doing is illicit and false, but they also know that, oh, hey, I can go borrow all this money cheaply and then enhance the mirror wall that I have, and I could lie some more because there is cash. And okay, so then this problem which arises because people, they do not like reality, they want to always be in the fantasy world, is like artists that they become comfortable with a certain type that somebody has cast them in it, and they became successful with that, but either the type becomes old and they cannot make any more money and nobody wants them anymore, or they have seen it, they're bored of it. But if you don't do typecasting and you just do work your butt off and get the different roles, different kinds of characters, you have to work a lot harder, and the chances of success are less. But then you will be the working actor, because every time they want to make another movie, then they want a good actor that can play this different role, and they are not going to go looking for somebody who's already typecast for something. Well, I want to tell about the riots is that because the group of a part of American society is so used to like being typecasted as like the successful white and we are the ones that are gonna make the big money. Oh, we are from this Jewish family. We are rich and we've always been successful and that. And when this mirage, this image, this hologram that we have constructed, when it falls apart, when there comes a point that there is somebody puts a needle into it, or it just comes face to face with the constraint that's so rooted in reality, it cannot be BS'd. Okay, then this group, okay, will have very hard time accepting this reality. I mean, after the 1929, or was it 22? I think it was 29. Wall Street crash. Then a lot of people, a lot of investors, they committed suicide. I guess there were waves of banker suicides a few years ago, and I think that will be one of the signs. A lot of them will commit suicide. A lot of the rich that have lost their paper wealth, they will kill themselves. And the other ones that are not as wealthy and informed that, hey, this was a complete lie. This wasn't real. There were no such shares. There was no such money. Okay, they become the violent and the ones that feel very betrayed, and they are the guys that will start riots in different U.S. cities. I think that this will either happen after Trump gets executed or assassinated, or when the market crash or financial fiasco is too real, becomes too real to deny. Then these riots will start. I don't think that it will be, like low middle class or even middle class or women or blacks. I think it will be many kind of a little bit upper middle class or rich whites that feel tremendously betrayed, that they were entitled to this wealth and this supposed success and all this paper wealth has evaporated. They will feel like they have lost it all, and this is the period for extreme violence and chaos in the United States, where they'll burn down the house. But then a lot of them will get killed too, or they'll start a war and they get killed over there. This is the story. This is a story. A lot of financial analysts that are pretty good, they know very well, like Salente. Well, thank you for being in my YouTube channel. Please like and share and subscribe. And please leave a comment. A lot of my stuff is research, and yeah. Thank you very much. Have a nice one.